Yes, you read the title of this video correctly. Today we're going to be journaling in a book. I know, so random. I don't know why I'm doing this. Let me go on a little tangent and explain myself for a few minutes. So basically, okay, I've been really, for a long time actually, been wanting to get into the hobby of book binding or book rebinding, which basically means that you take like a paperback book, peel off the original cover and like rebind it. And such a cool concept. I see so many people like on TikTok and Instagram do it. It looks so awesome. And if you don't know, I have a lot of books. In fact, I have an entire separate channel just for my reading. It's called Sophie. Go check it out if you're interested. But I read a lot and I have a lot of books, and I am a big crafter, as you guys know. That's what this channel is for. So I thought it'd be a great way to combine both of those loves and do bookbinding. But the thing with that is it's such a hobby that intimidates me because you have to buy all the supplies, you have to like spend a lot of time, you know, getting all the glue and everything, getting all the fabric or paper to recover these things. If you mess it up and it doesn't look as good, then you just ruined your book because you could have just left it with the original cover. Even if it had an original cover that was ugly, if you make an uglier one, then it's just even worse, you know? So it's something that really intimidates me, and I'm going to get over that fear at some point this year. I think is going to happen. And honestly, I would really be curious in the comments below. Could you do me a favor and let me know if you'd be interested in videos about bookbinding or rebinding, anything of that sort? I'd be really curious because I'd love to introduce something like that onto this channel if you guys are interested in it. So just let me know down below, please. I'd be really curious. But right now we're not doing that. We're just scrapbooking in a book because for some reason this was like my version of a baby step. I was like, I can't do rebinding yet, so let's just do the next best thing, and that is pulling out all of my scrapbooking materials. But instead of doing it in a bullet journal, I'm doing it literally in the front page of my book, The Favorites. Now, if you don't follow me on my book channel, which is called, again, Sophie Jo, I keep promoting it, like, I'm sorry, I need to stop, but I read this book, The Favorites, last month in February, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I was so excited because I got this book from Book of the Month, not sponsored or anything, but I specifically bought a subscription for them just so I could receive this one book like one time. And so I was really hoping that it would live up to the hype, and thank God it did. This book is incredible. If you've never read it before, I mean, it is a new release, but it basically follows 2 characters, Heath and Katarina. They are childhood friends to lovers, and they are famous Olympic skaters. This is a fictional story, but it's telling the story of all the drama in the figure skating world as they grow up and try to become the best ever. And it's really just a lot of like hot gossip and a little bit of romance and so much drama. And if you are like me and love watching figure skaters or ice dancers in the Winter Olympics, this book is one that you need to pick up. It was so entertaining. It gives very much like Taylor Jenkins Reid vibes. If you've read anything by her, this is quite similar, and I really enjoyed it. So anyway, yeah, I wanted to do some kind of scrapbooking in the cover of this book because I gave it 5 stars, and I wanted to add just a little bit more decoration to it. I specifically also wanted to do a hardback book, which I don't own many of because I usually prefer a paperback book, but I figured with a hardback it'd be easier to fold open and like keep the cover open because it has a firm back, you know? Anyway, I don't really need to over-explain myself. Basically, I'm just printing out a lot of pictures from Pinterest of ice dancers and ice skates, roses, ice, you know, general pictures that I think match the aesthetic of The Favorites, cutting them out and gluing them in a scrapbooky format just in the inside cover of the book rather than in a bullet journal. I also specifically, and you'll see in a few minutes, but I printed out a picture of the actual cover, which is kind of ironic because I literally have the dust jacket of the book like sitting right next to me with the exact cover, but I printed out another picture of it that way I could cut out the title, The Favorites, and use the exact same font and background that the cover of the book has. Personally, I really love the cover design of this book, of the 2 ice skaters, like almost blurry with all the sparkles around them. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Part of the reason that I got the Book of the Month edition is because I specifically wanted a hardback or at least a physical copy of this book. So I think that it just blends really well with all the other pictures to have the actual title from the original cover also added to all these different photos. But because ice dancing is obviously on ice, a lot of these pictures were like kind of silvery. I felt like, you know, the ice is gray. A lot of them had like old filters on them from like 2018. I feel like a lot of pictures on Pinterest have with like dramatic shadows and stuff in the ice skaters and everything. I tried to edit the photos a little bit in my photos app before I printed them out and everything to try to lessen the dramatics of the photo editing, but some of them you just really can't help. They're just kind of silvery. So to kind of balance out the amount of like silver and gray in these pictures, I tried to add some gold like sparkles, just like really aesthetic backgrounds. I have a picture of a couple in sunlight in the top left. I'm going to have a couple pictures of of gold stars, a gold medal, of course, for the Olympics, things like that. I'm also adding in the back some washi tape. Like there's this washi tape that I use all the time with just random words on it, but it has this light, warm, golden beige color to it. So I think that although it looks like it clashes with the gray and silver, when everything at the very end gets added on together, I feel like the colors really blend. It's a lot of like gold and silver, which I mean leans into that Olympics like medal thing, but also it's like yellow and gray inherently are kind of ugly together. But I think I tried my best to like make it all blend together using different colors in the stars, in the favorites title, things like that. And I think by the end it all kind of worked. I don't know. I think it did. You'll have to tell me if you think otherwise, but I think it looked really good. Now, usually whenever I print out images like this, I love to print a bunch of images on sticker paper because it makes it so much easier. Instead of having to tape or glue any pictures into my journal, or in this case, my book, I can literally just peel off the back of the sticker paper that the pictures are printed on and it automatically has a sticky back. That's like my really go-to. The problem is that while I'm at university, I don't actually have a printer of my own, so I use the university printers, and obviously I can't put my own paper into those. They just have copy paper. So my options were between using a glue stick, liquid glue, or double-sided tape. And at this moment in time, I only had enough liquid glue to last me for all of these very small pictures that I'm like overlapping everywhere. So I am using like plain Elmer's glue to glue this in. It wasn't the perfect solution because since it is technically like wet, it kind of warped the pages a little bit, like the one page that I'm on and a couple pages after. It's really not noticeable at all. I feel like it's not a big deal, but it would probably be better if I used something like double-sided tape or maybe a glue stick to glue everything in, or the best of both worlds is using sticker paper. However, I did my best. I don't really mind it with all the glue, to be honest. I think it works either way. And this is proof that honestly you don't need like fancy supplies to do anything creative like this. Like people have been using Elmer's glue for years. Like I feel like I had Elmer's glue in kindergarten. Like, you know, it's not anything crazy. It's just like simple crafting supplies. So don't feel like you have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff in general whenever you like see stuff like this and want to do it. I feel like it's very achievable with just like maybe a printer, some glue, and a good pair of scissors. I feel like whenever I make videos about scrapbooking, it's really hard for me to like explain how I did something because to be honest, scrapbooking in my opinion is just a bunch of trial and error. You see me moving around pictures back and forth, up and down, like changing the direction, changing the position, and I always tend to have a general layout of everything, at least the main background photos before I even start gluing at the very beginning. So it's a lot of just like what I think looks good, and honestly what I think looks good could be completely opposite from what you think looks good. So it's so subjective of just like what you like and what you want in your own journaling pages. I will say that as far as like quote technique, I try to like balance out the colors. Wow, I feel like my voice is cracking a lot today, I'm sorry, but I try to balance out the colors. So I told you there's a lot of gold and silver that's like kind of clashing here. So I tried to do is balance and make sure that every side, like every corner of the page had a little bit of gold and a little bit of silver. Not that one side was too overloaded with gold and one side was too heavy of silver. It's like a nice balance. So by doing this, I'm like moving around, for example, the gold stars where the places where there is a lot of silver, or I am putting the picture of the two ice dancers with the silver background over the gold washi tape in the top left corner to add some more contrast. So basically it's just about making sure that there's a balance everywhere. At least that's my personal preference, and I can tell you what is my thought process during this. Everything else though is really just like what fits, what makes sense, what keeps a relatively consistent margin around the edge of the pages, what is not too overloading in one section and not enough pages in another, like where's the white space, things like that are just like, you know, constantly in the back of my mind as I'm moving these pictures around. But it's just, again, trial, error. Do I like it here? Do I like it here? Do I like it here? Once I find a good place, glue it down and don't look back, okay? It's not gonna be perfect. Scrapbooking never is. It's just about the fun of like, you know, messy overlapping photos and washi tape and things like that. And to be honest, like even though it's not the most perfect thing ever, after this entire spread was done, or spread, it's not a spread, it's just a page in a book. I need to like correct my vocabulary here after doing so many years of making bullet journal videos. Now I'm actually doing it in a book. But yeah, not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna look so cute when it's done. Like even now, whenever I open this book on my shelf and see the scrapping on the inside, it's like a little surprise because I'm like, oh my gosh, look how cute it is. You know, I think it's a really fun craft, and I totally recommend if you have a book that you really like or even really hate and just want to like scrapbook on the inside of, definitely recommend. Because I am both in the bullet journaling side of YouTube and also the book creator side of YouTube, I see a lot of overlap. Like for example, reading journals I feel have been a lot more popular in recent, like maybe 2 or 3 years. And it's really curious to see bullet journaling creators do reading journal videos, and then the differences between that and reading creators doing journaling videos for their books. Like I see a lot of it and see the different sides of it between like people who are usually heavy artists and instead are scrapbooking about the books that they read, or people who usually just read and are trying journaling for the first time. And so I feel like I fall very much in the center of that because I literally have 2 channels for those 2 niches. And honestly, I love having 2 channels for 2 of my favorite hobbies. It's like so much fun to be able to just put my hobbies online. But I have heard many different types of reading journaling that are different from my original thought of reading journaling. For example, when I think reading journaling, I don't think journaling in a book. I think what I usually do, which is just opening my bullet journal and pasting in pictures of the books that I read. However, I was listening to one of my favorite creators named Maddie last week, and she had a video where she was starting a reading journal in a book. Like she's not a journaler usually, like she's a book creator, but she wanted to start a reading journal where she literally like writes in between the lines of one of her favorite books, like a separate copy that she has of an Olive Blake book. She was just going to like write her thoughts about her books like in between the text on the pages. That is something I have never ever heard of before, but it's very creative. I don't know if I could do it because I feel like it would be very overstimulating and stressful to try to read words in between, like literally reading the lines in between the lines, like actually because you're writing in between the lines of a book. That seems like too crazy for me, but if it's something that she wants to do and she likes, then like, you know, more power to her. That's so awesome and so creative, and what a keepsake to have all of your memories of reading in between the pages of your literal favorite book ever. Like it's so cool. I don't think I'm at that level yet. I think I'm still trying to marry the 2 between my love of books and my love of journaling, and right now that's looking like making reading journal spreads in my bullet journal or actually journaling in the covers of books, I suppose, with this video. But yeah, it's just so curious to like walk that line of the 2 different niches, and I'm interested to hear if you guys have any other ideas of reading content or bullet journaling content and how the 2 can mesh. I would love to know in the comments below. I know a lot of you guys are readers. I've talked about it a lot on the channel before, and you guys have given me many book recommendations before and things like that. So yeah, I'd love to just yap about it below. I'd love to hear ideas and your thoughts because it's something I've been thinking about a lot and how to integrate it onto this channel as well as my other channel. So, you know, just thinking out loud. Alright, so we finished out this spread with gluing in a couple quotes from the book, some of my favorite quotes. The one at the top says, "A warrior goddess covered in glitter," which is really the definition of the character Katarina in this book. I love her determination so much. And then the quote at the bottom says, "I hated them, I wanted to be them, I couldn't take my eyes off them," which again, perfect summarization of our 2 main characters. So yeah, with that, and then finally pasting in the cover pictures like of the favorites, the actual words from the cover, that finishes out this scrapbooking page. I'm so obsessed with how this looks. I loved putting the cover dust jacket back on and being able to just see how the cover of the book opens up to this gorgeous little scrapbook in the middle. I think it was so fun. Again, I've never seen anyone else do this before, but I really hope that this inspires some of you to maybe journal in your own books a little bit. And again, if you want any more content like this or potentially like bookbinding content, let me know. I'm so curious. I hope you enjoyed this little bonus video in the middle of the week, and I will see you guys in just a couple days for a new video. As always, subscribe, and I will see you Saturday.